Going to call the June Public Safety Events and Quality of Life Committee meeting to order. I am Lisa Dorsey. I am the chair, and I am joined by Councilwoman Nicole Shimon and Councilman Brian McGinnis. Any comments, suggestions, or petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda? Moving right along to number 3, the monthly Westchester Fire Department report.
Good evening, Justin McClure, Assistant Fire Chief. Chief Scanlon's unable to be here tonight. The department responded to 127 incidents for the month of May, 59 of which were in the borough. Yearly total for the department responses as of May 31st is 689, 280 of which were in the borough. That tracks average with what we see from year to year. There was an estimated property loss in May of $25,500. That's out of $240,000 in jeopardy. That's attributed to 2 vehicle fires, both of which were in the borough. We were able to minimize the damage there due to a 1.5-minute dispatch turn route time by the volunteers. I can tell you, doing this full time at a county level, that's incredibly impressive. You don't see that. Any questions on the fire department report before I get to the bad news? Okay, let's talk about the ladder truck. So the ladder truck is at Fireline in Lancaster awaiting repairs as a result of its motor vehicle collision on April 3rd. We've been cleared by the police department's investigation of any wrongdoing. Any other questions relative to the investigation, certainly speak with Chief Lee. The initial repair cost from Fireline without disassembling the apparatus exceeds $58,000. That's because the frame of the truck is bent, which is pretty impressive considering the truck weighs over 63,000 pounds. Fireline's confident that there will be additional repairs and costs once they take the truck apart. When I say take the truck apart, the entire cab has to come off, the motor has to come out, the drivetrain, the transfer case, the transmission, all has to come out just so they can fix the frame. We know there's damage to the cab. They're concerned about some damage to the motor from the impact. We're not going to know that until they take that apart. Luckily, the apparatus is insured for its purchase value of $1.2 million. I will tell you that if we had to replace that truck today, we're looking at anywhere from 2.2 to 2.5 million and a lead time of up to 60 months. So fixing the truck is definitely the right thing to do, and the insurance company agrees so far. They've issued the first check to the borough in the amount of $70,000 and change. So we will need authorization from finance and subsequently full council over the next 2 weeks to move forward with repairs. Those initial repairs without any additional are estimated to take 6 to 8 months. This is our only ladder truck, and it is a critical piece of apparatus. We are interested in discussing with finance tonight and council the possibility of any future repairs that result in a direct payment from the insurance company of the fire chief and the borough manager being able to authorize them since they're not really coming out of our budget. Our concern is that, say next Thursday, Fireline comes back and says, hey, we have another $50,000 of work we know needs to be done. The insurance company says we agree and cuts the borough check. We would be in a holding pattern for yet another month. So we're interested in having that conversation as well if council is. Any questions? Thank you.
So I have a question. What are you using in between?
That's a great question. So our insurance policy actually covers a loaner. However,
Did you get that from Avis?
finding a loaner ladder truck now has proved to be nearly impossible. We have gone from New York to Maryland to Ohio to Virginia. Because of the lead time on new apparatus construction, anybody that has a spare or a used ladder truck that they're getting ready to get rid of is selling it. And you're looking at anywhere of a cost from $29,000 to over $100,000 for a piece of apparatus that's up to 30 years. So we're relying on mutual aid. Goshen, West Whiteland, Longwood, and Concordville down in Delaware County are really good mutual aid partners in that regard. However, there is a time factor in that that affects not only the ability to get the truck there in a timely fashion because it's coming from a distance, but it affects our ability to place apparatus, particularly in town where space is tight. And particularly during the weekends right now, we had a reported building fire on Saturday or Sunday uptown. And we had to hold apparatus on one side of the street and wait for a mutual aid ladder to get it into the closure without positioning some other stuff. So not having that piece of apparatus in town is a challenge for us, certainly.
But to be clear though, when the need arises to have that height,
Sure.
we're able to bring those resources to sites in the borough.
Yeah, we adapt.
Through our mutual aid agreements.
Yep, we adapt, and they have been fantastic partners. Without question, we made the phone call the day after the accident and said, "Hey, just so you know, this happened." And they're like, "Certainly, whatever you need. We just can't give you our truck to have all the time."
How long did you say it's going to take to fix again?
They're estimating currently, without knowing what's wrong with the motor, 6 to 8 months, and it's been out for 2 at this point.
So Chief, I heard you say, the tri-state area, Ohio, New York, Maryland, Virginia. I mean, it sounds like minutes, seconds matter, right? If there's
Sure.
a true emergency. What other options do we have?
Mutual aid right now is our only option. I mean, the only other option would be to buy a piece of apparatus, and the fire chief and I have discussed that at length. We're a little leery on that option, A, because we're not budgeted for it, B, because the insurance carrier doesn't cover that, and then we'd have to get rid of it, and there's no guarantee that we would get the cost we paid for it, and a ladder truck of any apparatus of that age is going to need repairs more frequently. We see that with our fleet now as they turn 10, 15, 20 years old. So that's a pretty big gamble in our opinion. We'd be really interested in a loaner. And we're still looking, don't get me wrong. We are just at this point unable to find one.
Have you talked to the people that are trying to sell their truck, thinking, oh, it might take them X number of months to actually sell it and to just?
Sure. So we've spoken to some people who have ladder trucks for sale, particularly at brokers, if they're interested in leasing. And thus far, the answer has been no. We've talked to manufacturers who we've bought apparatus from or are planning to buy apparatus from, and they don't have anything either. They certainly know that if they come across something, that they'll call us. We even spoke to somebody in Florida, and we've gone as far as we found a ladder on Facebook Marketplace and asked if they'd be willing to lease it to us, and it was only for sale. Yeah, the fire truck market is dramatically different than what it was pre-COVID, especially with the lead times and the inflated cost of apparatus. So that's why you see a reduction, especially ladder truck is considered a specialty piece of apparatus. So they're going to be even more difficult to acquire if we were to try and find one for rent or lease.
So it sounds like we're between a rock and a hard place. And you guys will keep looking and hopefully
Absolutely.
we'll get lucky.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, 3A, Westchester Police Department report.
Good evening. Obviously, I am not Chief Lee.
Looks so much like him.
He's a little taller than me, so, but he sends his apologies. He had a personal commitment tonight, and but rest assured, any questions or comments, I'll make sure it gets back to him tomorrow. So for our report, Jeff, if you could back up one. He started off with a picture of himself with the mayor, with our new promoted officers that were sworn in as either lieutenants, corporals, or sergeants last month. He would like to send his gratitude to Mayor DeBaptiste, the full council, and Mr. Metrick on their support through that process. Also, our Civil Service Commission, and especially Stacy King, his administrative assistant, who does a lot of work in the background that we don't see to make that run smooth. And finally, Teresa Eady, the mayor's administrative assistant, who does a lot of work with that also. These men are in place now in their new roles and are doing extremely well. Next slide, I believe, is our mission statement. I'm not going to read it word for word, but it hits diversity. It hits our community relations with our community, and you will begin to see us out in the community a lot more at community events. We're going to have a bunch of events ourselves to gain that trust of the community and bridge that gap So look for that. Numbers for the month, they're tracking as normal for this time last year. There were 2 robberies, 2 assaults, 3 burglaries. Happy to report that 5 of those 7 have been solved already. And that is due to the dedication and work of our patrol officers and our criminal staff. They worked really hard to get those clear. The other 2 that are still pending, they are following many leads and continuing the investigation. We hope to have those wrapped up shortly. The leadership, Chief liked his picture this month to put in the report. I didn't make the cut. I didn't work so hard this month, but I'll try to do better next month. But with the addition of Lieutenant Gorman and Lieutenant Dietz, this brings a massive amount of years of service to the department. So you will see great things come out of this leadership as we move forward. And finally, Chief Lee would like to put out his contact information. That is for not only borough employees, council, but our community as well. If you have problems, interest, or just want to give a shout out to our officers, he loves reading emails from the community and engaging with them. Any questions?
Thank you.
The mission state, is that new? The way you presented it, it sounded like it was.
No, it's not a new. We've always had a mission statement. This is just a part out of that. Our mission statement's pretty long. He just took that out to recognize our mission to be out in the community, engage with them a little more. We want everybody to know us. We want to know them and just bridge that gap and get that trust in. Good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Good Fellowship.
Good evening, Chaz Bergen, EMS Chief from Good Fellowship Ambulance. Short and sweet tonight, 623 total calls in the month of May, 174 of which were in Westchester Borough. That's about 28% of our volume, which is normal for us. Our volume is actually slightly lower than it was this time last year, which is the first time we've seen that since COVID, coming out of COVID. So our volume seems to be stabilizing a little bit, which is good. Really nothing else abnormal in this report other than you'll see calls at the university obviously come down when they departed after the first week there, but we're in relatively good shape. Summertime, our volume typically lowers anyway. So we're looking forward to hopefully a little bit of a slowdown over the next couple months. So any questions on the report at all before you get other stuff? Well, good. Perfect. Overall hospital volumes continue to be really high, which is abnormal. Typically they also see a summer slowdown, and typically their volume correlates to EMS volume. We're not seeing that right now. So the hospitals are very busy, but the EMS is not. So a lot more people are walking in for some reason. So we are seeing some higher wait times from time to time where the ambulance there's for a half hour waiting for a bed to become available. So we're navigating that with our hospital partners, but it's been a challenge over the last few weeks and it's just kind of a fluke thing we're watching. So the only other update I have for you, and I think I discussed it a few months ago, is the county started a mobile crisis team to respond to behavioral health emergencies. That went live in May, which so far has been good. We've been interacting with them for about 3 or 4 weeks now, actually twice today. So far so good. There's a couple growing pains there that we're working through with them, but they're doing a great job and it's a good resource. The county used their ARPA money to fund that. So they have a contractor, Woods Legacy out of New Jersey, that's providing that service in Chester County now. So good stuff coming there on the behavioral health front. So any questions at all?
None for me.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Well, I went to the event. It was
Yeah.
great.
Had a good time? Perfect. Thank you for coming. Yeah, we appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah.
You're up, Mr. Krowski.
How you doing?
Good.
Talking about special events, only one on the agenda right now. And it's really a borderline special event. St. Agnes just likes to make sure that they're doing what they can. The Feast of the Assumption planned for 8/11 is basically a walk around town. They abide by all traffic laws. They stay on the sidewalks. I've informed them that they technically don't need a special event application for this, but they want to make sure that they are doing anything they can in accordance with our rules and regulations. So it's a special event application that's not necessarily needed, but they want to make sure they're following rules.
But I mean, I was curious too, if this was something that we normally approved.
Yeah, they submitted probably for the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Motion to 4B, motion to approve the May 2024 Public Safety Meeting minutes.
I'm good.
Great. Any other business?
Just briefly, there's a list of qualifying firefighter who reside in the borough who qualify for the firefighter tax credit that I circulated to council. If you had any questions about how that verification process works with the fire department, we have the people in the room that can help answer that question. It'll be an action item on the finance committee agenda to approve so that we can verify that disbursement and get going on that. It is capped at $1,000 and up to $1,000. If your property tax bill in the borough is less than that, then it's not a payment. It's a credit against what you've paid for the prior year. And mostly I'd like to give you all an opportunity to discuss with the assistant chief what those verification standards are and how that's done if you want to.
Thanks, Chief McClure. I think we just need to understand the process for about verification of the firefighters.
Sure. So in the case of the borough, what has to occur first is you have to be a resident of the borough, and your primary residence, which you are listed on the deed or the tax bill for, has to be in your name, and you have to be an active member of the Westchester Fire Department. In our case, Good Fellowship also participates in the program, qualifying volunteers this last year. And then once they meet that threshold, they have to participate in at least 10% of emergency calls for service for their station for that tax year and attend one department-sponsored training per month. So they have, at a minimum, they have 4 opportunities a month to attend training. So they have to attend at least one of them and attend 2 public events. So Touch a Truck Day for National Night Out. If we come up for the Christmas parade or anything like that, that counts for them. And then they have to pitch or a fundraising activity, because volunteer fire departments still do fundraising to help supplement some of their cost. And that has to be during that tax year. Then you have to have paid your taxes first. And then the borough, will issue you that rebate not to exceed $1,000. So there was a list that was submitted by Chief Scanlon and notarized and submitted to the borough back, I think the ordinance says February. So that is in possession of the borough. And then I guess whatever process the borough manager is looking for council to approve the release of those funds back to the volunteers. There were 12 people that qualified under this program for 2024. We use 2023 data. So your 2024 tax bill with the year's prior data. So it gives us 12 months.
He answered all my questions.
No, I remember we went over this last year. We approved this last year, so I'm
Yep.
familiar with.
Okay.
Of note, the borough, West Town, and West Goshen, as well as the county, all participate in this program, and we got draft language from East Bradford Township today. So 4 of the 6 municipalities that the department covers are participating in this program. Birmingham and Thornbury have opted not to, simply because the amount of volunteers is and what their rebates would be is far less than the administrative overhead cost. So they've offered some other ways to incentivize financially for our folks that live there. Okay.
Thank you. Any other business? All right, meeting adjourned.